John Wall's days as a Houston Rocket may be numbered. His days on the court are for sure numbered, as the Houston Rockets and John Wall have come to an agreement in which the former All-Star will come to camp for the Rockets this season, but he will not play. The Rockets are looking to find a trade partner for John Wall, who's entering his 12th season in the league. He's got about 2 years left on his deal, around $91 million. The second year is a player option at $47 million. There's no way on God's green earth, especially with how John Wall has been playing over the last few years and how injury-prone he's been, there's no way he's not taking that player option for that second year, because nobody's paying him $47 million a year unless he has an incredible season somehow this season. And it will obviously be somewhere outside of Houston if he does have an incredible season, because the Rockets ain't playing him. So, I mean, you got 2 years, $91 million at the clip. We'll talk about some teams in a second that might be interested in his services. But this is really a bad look for the Rockets. This was a report from Shams over at The Athletic, one of the best NBA reporters we got. I read the article through and through. And if I'm reading Shams correctly, according to his report, this wasn't what we typically see in today's NBA. James Harden, ironically, who played with the Rockets as of last year and demanded a trade out. And the Anthony Davis of the world. We've seen so many scenarios where guys are trying to force their way away from the organization. If I'm reading Shams' report correctly, this was actually the opposite. It was the Rockets that told Wall, hey, we're going to continue to pay you for now, but we don't want you to play. You know, we just kind of want to protect. I think Shams coined it as a term like protect his health. Like, what does that matter? Like, are you trying to win games or not? Obviously, the Houston Rockets are not trying to win games. They're not stupid. In the next couple years, guys like Imani Bates will be eligible for the draft. Other top premier acts, they're trying to get their hands on one of those or a couple of those guys if they can, and they don't want to win games. And I'm telling you right now, if you put Jalen Green, who I like a lot, Kevin Porter, these guys can put the ball in the basket on the court. The Rockets are going to get buckets, but they're going to lose a lot of games. They are. They're going to lose a lot of games. These games are not going to be close, but I guess you allow your guys to kind of find their way throughout the league. The Rockets are clearly going in the direction of Green, Porter Jr., and obviously Christian Wood down low. And they're like, yo, John Wall, we don't really want you. We'd rather probably trade you for a couple young pieces if we can find them. Now here comes the question. What's out there for a John Wall market? In my world, honestly, this seems like a lay-in. And it seems like a door that, to me, seemed closed for Philly has kind of cracked open. If you're the Philadelphia 76ers and you're the Houston Rockets, remember, Daryl Morey was the Rockets GM for years, right, in that James Harden era. Now he's in Philly. Unless there's super bad blood, which there could be, I don't know. All I know is Daryl Morey said he was retiring and said he'd spend some time with his family. Then, like, the next week, he ended up in Philly as their VP. Here's what I'm thinking. If there's not that much bad blood between Daryl Morey and Philly and the Rockets, it seems like there's a layup. You know, the only shot that Ben Simmons takes on the court, that was a low blow. I didn't even have to do that. It seems like there's a lay-in for the Rockets and Sixers to work out a Simmons for Wall trade. You get Embiid, a talent, and again, Wall's not a great shooter by any means necessary, but he ain't afraid to take a shot. And I do believe Embiid can ball out with the guy that's just not afraid to take the shot. You could put him, John Wall, I think, would fit in Philly pretty decently. If the John Wall that came to play in Houston, because John Wall was ready to ball last year. Now, injuries continued to just stifle his career. But he came in Houston last year with the right mentality following the Westbrook swap. It was Harden that blew that thing up and thought that team wasn't good enough and kind of created an ugly morale in that locker room first month of the season. But if John Wall goes to Philly with the right mentality, I think there's a chance that could work out in Philly. Ben Simmons, look, he doesn't want to shoot the basketball. Take him to Houston. If nothing else, he'll enjoy a couple strip clubs, and he'll be around a couple guys that don't mind shooting the basketball, and Jalen Green and also Kevin Porter Jr. And, I also actually would like a lot that Christian Wood and Ben Simmons connection. I actually think Ben could get Christian a lot of really good looks. So, I mean, that's something. I think that's the most plausible scenario for both teams. Now, if that doesn't work out, the Clippers are a name that you might want to keep your eyes on. I don't believe Kawhi Leonard's playing basketball this year. That's my opinion. I have nothing behind that. You want to know why? Kawhi doesn't talk. There are no leaks in Kawhi's camp. Nobody talks to him. Right there, you ain't getting no leak from him. Unless you know Uncle Dennis, you ain't getting no leak out of Kawhi. So my guess is Kawhi's not playing ball this year. If he's not playing ball next year, then, Paul George would need some help. Reggie Jackson was a nice piece for the Clippers in the postseason, but I don't think you can expect that guy to come out and be your starting point guard. He's had many opportunities around this league. I don't think he's the guy. I would like him off the bench. I think that 6-man, 7-man off the bench role in Los Angeles, following the Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell era, I think it's a good spot for Reggie Jackson. Get a starter. If you're Steve Ballmer, a guy that's never been afraid to spend money, maybe throw Jordan Wall around it and see what you got for a year or so. And then once Kawhi comes back, that'll be a pretty nice three-headed monster. And Kawhi, Wall, and PG. Listen, man, the moral of the story is I'm not done on John Wall. A lot of people are out on John Wall. I'm not one of those people. As long as you still want it to me, I'll stay in the fight with you. And I do believe John Wall fell out of love with basketball for a while. I believe that. And I don't know him personally. I've interviewed John Wall. I'm lying. I've interviewed John Wall before. But I don't know him personally or anything like that. I'm not done with John Wall. I'm not going to quit on John Wall. I still think there's some really good basketball left at John Wall. Now, is it at $40-some million a clip? I don't know about that, but that's what he's going to make for the next couple years. He ain't doing no buyout. He shouldn't do a buyout. He's smart. He signed the contract. You got to pay the man. It's the Wizards' fault. Y'all let me know, though. Where are you guys at on John Wall? What trade makes sense? I think the Sixers and Houston should be able to figure out some type of trade. I believe that. It makes sense. Ben doesn't want to be there. He said he'll go anywhere. And if anywhere is anywhere, then Houston is somewhere. And it's some young talent that you could put Ben around. This was like the talk of last offseason. Remember, the James Harden trade was on the table, and the Rockets wanted a lot for him. And I think Philly was unwilling to trade Ben. And that seems like an idiotic move looking a year later. So maybe that means Daryl Morey and the Sixers can do business with the Houston Rockets. We shall see. John Wall, though, is a name that you want to watch out. This might go into the season, just depending on what teams think he has left in the tank.